A decision to house migrants in a suburb of Rome has led to clashes between police and locals. Far-right activists also joined in the clashes, in which 14 officers were injured. More than 100 migrants are living in a former school building in the area. Anti-migrant anger has spread to the north of Italy as well. Locals in the province of Treviso have been destroying refugees' furniture and other property after the authorities accommodated them in around 30 vacant apartments. Germany has also seen examples of hostility. A former hotel converted to house asylum seekers was set on fire in Bavaria. At the same time, several activists noticed this online map locating migrants' homes and shelters. It's called No Refugee Centre in My Backyard. A neo-Nazi group is believed to be behind it. The map has since been deleted from the web. Well, just to add some figures, Germany has received 179,000 asylum applications so far this year. That's twice as many than in the same period as last year. The country expects at least 450,000 applications in total, with the Interior Minister acknowledging it's hard to cope with the growing influx. An Islamic State bomb attack has claimed over 100 lives in Iraq. That and other news coming up shortly.
Most people think to stand out in this business, you need to be the first one on top of the story, or the person with the loudest voice or the biggest ratings. In truth, to stand out in the news business, you just need to ask the right questions and demand the right answers. Question more.
Iran and the global powers have a deal. But what is next? Can Israel's allies on Capitol Hill derail the agreement? Can we expect the Israelis and the Saudis to respect the process hammered out in Vienna? And how does this change the geopolitics of the Middle East?
When people start to run out of water and food, then they become politically very, very aggressive. And I think the projections for the Middle East and North Africa are very worrying, because if climate continues as it is, it will provoke further social unrest.
You're with RT International. Welcome back. Now, the controversy surrounding the Confederate flag has fueled a debate in the US, with some calling it a symbol of hate, while others claim it's part of their heritage. RT's Maria Finoshna is travelling through the southern states to gauge opinion. Maria is now in North Carolina, where she's focusing on racial division.
Slavery is part of America's history, both in the North and here in the South. Traveling across the former Confederate states, we felt this is something people are still trying to come to terms with.
It's like your horse. You own your horse, but you don't abuse your horse. You take care of him, you pet him, you feed him good.
Did you just compare black people to horses?
Well, you know, it's part of our history.
I have no control of what happened 200 years ago. And I think it's wrong, by the way. But I didn't do it. You didn't do it. They better start thinking about today.
But how different today is.
You mean racism, period? Yes, it does. It always has. Yeah.
You feel it?
Yeah, at times I have. Yeah.
How?
I mean, it's just the way people treat you, the way people look at you. Yeah.
Forgetting is especially hard when people constantly remind you of historical injustices.
Oppression, racial subjugation, the cause of slavery.
The future cannot be built on symbols of war, hate, and divisiveness.
The time has come to remove this symbol of hate and division from our state capital.
We cannot have a flag of exclusion and hate waving in a place of honor.
They should just leave it alone, or they're just going to start a big war about it.
The nationwide debate over the Confederate flag has uncovered scars that people here would prefer remain buried.
This is a black cemetery, only African American people buried here, and it is one of so many in all across the South.
You can find them in every American state, old as well as very new. Divisions in life do not stop after death.
We're talking about in 2015, we're still talking about racism, we're still talking about these different things, but I feel that God is still going to show his hand.
This pastor's church in North Carolina is one of 8 African-American places of worship in the South to have been burned down since the Charleston tragedy, when 9 black people were shot dead during Bible study. Investigators have not yet provided answers on what caused the fire here, and many believe the truth is deliberately being covered up.
I definitely believe somebody burned it on purpose.
Why do you think so?
Because we're living in the end of times, maybe.
And that's just the latest in a series of reports. You can find more travel notes from our correspondent in the American South on our website. A breakthrough creation has resulted in a lawsuit for one young Russian inventor. 26-year-old Dmitry Lopatin has designed a new generation solar panel able to work in cloudy or foggy conditions. His technology is also said to be 5 times cheaper than existing products. Lopatin starred with his invention at the latest innovation conference in Paris, yet he's now under investigation for an ingredient used in his project. The substance, called gamma-butyrolactone, or GBL, is used for cleaning and removing superglue. It's also classified as a psychotropic substance and therefore heavily restricted in Russia. Lopatin ordered it for his project and was arrested when he went to pick it up. He was fined 1 million rubles, that equates to around $18,000, and sentenced to 11 years in jail. The ruling was recently changed to a suspended sentence, but the fine remains. The scientist described his predicament to us.
In my work, I was using a solvent which is toxic and can cause cancer. That's why I tried to find a substitute. I found one via the internet and ordered it. A month and a half later, the parcel reached customs and I was called in and detained. Police launched a criminal case against me and I was interrogated. There were several court hearings. I chose to order from China because of the strict laws there. I had no idea that in China I could order a solvent which is banned in Russia.
People have been fleeing for their lives in California after a huge forest fire swept over a freeway packed with cars. Traffic has been brought to a standstill and 20 vehicles have been burned out. The blaze charred a vast area of the surrounding foothills before it reached the road. Wildfires have been spreading across the state amid the worst drought in its history. A car bombing to the north of the Iraqi capital has claimed more than 100 lives and left dozens injured. The blast went off in a busy market on a Muslim feast day marking the end of Ramadan. Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the attack. And 2 trains have collided outside South Africa's largest city, Johannesburg, leaving more than 300 people injured. There have been no reports of fatalities so far. The cause of the crash, in which one of the trains derailed, remains unclear. The line has been temporarily closed. Now, homeowners in London are no strangers to booming property prices, but even a mind-blowing £280 million offer hasn't persuaded one owner to part with his 45-bedroom Knightsbridge mansion. Now, just to put that in context, that could buy you nearly 2,000 apartments in Tokyo or even 815 houses in Hawaii, where probably the view is just a little bit better. And as RT's Anastasia Churkina reports, the cost of just 1 square metre in London could cover a whole lot of bills.
The wealth gap in London is enormous, and the housing crisis is alive and kicking, with real estate prices through the roof. That's no secret. In neighborhoods like this one in central London, just 1 square metre of real estate can cost over a whopping £11,000.
Here we are on High Street, Kensington. We're very close to Hyde Park. So you want to live here, you've got to pay for it.
1 square metre of property here can cost over £11,000. 1 square metre. So what makes this neighborhood so amazing?
Well, nothing. It's just a crazy property market, and you know, all prices are out of
reality now.
It's too expensive, much too expensive. But people pay it, I don't know why they do.
The price of a square meter in an expensive neighborhood can buy you a shiny new car, a Honda or a Volkswagen, for example. That is also something that could cover a whole year of college tuition in the UK, with students currently paying up to £9,000 annually, a staggering amount for many.
It's crazy to me. I can kind of foresee that there will be loads of people dropping out university because they can't bear the fee, which I don't think is a good idea.
London is very expensive.
Apart from 1 year at university, what else can the price of just 1 square meter in a posh London area cover? Well, over 6 months of travel around the world, if you spend about £1,500 a month, it is also half the annual starting salary of a nurse here. And while budget cuts and tightening belts is all the rage here in the UK, the prices of the cost of housing have no signs of changing. Anastasia Churkina, RT, London.
To another stellar topic now. Historic breakthroughs in the space race are a source of national pride for many Americans. This poster at a McDonald's restaurant in Chicago proudly crowns Sally Ride as the first woman in space, slightly misspelling her name though. Well, she made history by travelling to space on board the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1983. But in fact, she was the first American woman to travel beyond Earth's atmosphere. 20 years before that, Soviet cosmonaut Valentina Tereshkova achieved the same feat. Now, she was on the Vostok mission, which launched in June 1963. And orbited Earth 48 times. But that's an achievement that many Americans, and indeed others, are unaware of, as we found out on the streets of Chicago.
Do you know who was the first woman in space?
Sally Ride. Sally Ride? I believe in Sally Ride.
Who was the first in space, the U.S. or the Soviets?
The United States of America.
How hard was it to beat the Soviets to space?
Pretty easy.
Not very hard at all. We already had a space program, so it wasn't that difficult.
It would be like beating a 6th grader in chess. They had no chance.
Some interesting views there. Up ahead, Max and Stacey look at the financial future of Greece and spiralling health insurance prices in the US. That's in the Kaiser Report.